Back in the boom times, many years ago here in Ireland, they call it Celtic Tiger. Everyone was very wealthy. We had a lot of money in this country before the recession hit. Things were good. Everything was looking up. I was going out with my wife, with my now wife, at the time for about 2 years. I was working as a system developer for a toy shop, a chain of toy shops in Ireland, and all was good. I decided that I was going to splash out on a new car, mainly for the wife, because we only had an old A to B job, nothing to write home about. It was a Nissan Almera or something like that. I can't remember exactly the model now. But I had heard an ad on the radio while I was working one day about this and a car coming out called a Mini. It was a Mini Cooper, but it was a new shape of it, a new take on it. And it sounded quite interesting, and they had favourable terms on it when you apply for finance. I was like, interesting. So we talked to the wife when I got home. We arranged we go down at the weekend to the showroom and have a look and see what this was all about. So we came into the showroom anyway, and you know these usual. You go into the showroom and it's all sparkly and bling bling and all the glitz and glamour. You're like, oh fucking hell, look at these cars! They look so cool. With all the lights shining off them, they're polished up to the last. It was just completely like the wow factor. But we came down and specifically to look at a Mini, and I was just talking about the standard basic model of a Mini. I had no idea that there was a sports model, but pride of place in the Mini section was they had this model called a Mini Cooper S, and it was up on a pedestal with all the lights shining on it like it was revolving. I was like, oh my fucking god, look at that thing. It was unbelievable looking. I show a picture up on the screen of what it actually looked like, and I was like, oh fucking hell, I'd absolutely love one of those. So we got talking to the salesman anyway, and he was just telling us the drib and drab story, the basic old model, and we said, any chance of a test drive? And he says, well, there's no actual. The basic Mini model isn't available for test drive, but you can have a test drive of the Cooper S, which is a sports one. I was like, fuck yeah, definitely, you know. So we got into it. He came along with us, and we drove out the gate. And as soon as I was driving out, I could feel like it just felt so different to my old car. Like it was like I could feel the stiffness of the accelerator, the firmness of the steering wheel. Like, you know, everything sounded right. Even the sound of the engine, you want to hear it. Like, it was unbelievable. The exhaust, it was like a lion purring. I'll just play a sound clip here now so I can hear it. So you can see, like, that's the way it started up. Like, it was just really gravelly and just all manly, and it's just like, oh fucking hell, what the fuck is this thing? So we got out the industrial estate where the car dealership was, and we got onto the main motorway. So the salesman told me to put my foot down to the floor. So I put my foot down to the floor, and I couldn't believe it. The turbo kicked in. I was thrown back into the seat. I never felt anything like it before. I was never in a car with turbo in it before. I couldn't believe the power in it. It was fucking amazing. I was hooked. I was like, oh my fucking god, this is a beast. So we got back to the dealership anyway, and we applied for the finance for the basic model. We couldn't really stretch. The other one was just too out of my league. Like, you know, I didn't think we'd have enough money. So we applied for finance through the bank. I think it was about €24,000 at the time. And we came home a couple of days later. We got the notice that there was no problem with the finance whatsoever. I was like, fuck, I couldn't believe that. I was like, fucking hell. So I said I'd try and push me luck, and I said, could I apply for the Cooper S, the sports model, which was about €30,000 at the time. And I was like, this was like the Cooper S model is the higher model. Obviously, it's a sports model. It was turbocharged. It was 185 brake horsepower. It looked like a fucking beast. And so we applied for that over the phone, and the following day we got approved on that, and I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't fucking believe it. I was like, oh my god. So I begged and pleaded with the wife that she would allow us to get it, and she said, no fucking bother. So we fucking said we go for it. About a week later, we came down at the weekend again to place the order, and I was all excited about picking out the paint colour and all that, and then he started talking about these optional extras. He started talking about fucking leather interior, sunroofs, these fancy bi-xenon headlights, heated seats, iPhone dock, this lights pack, all these fucking stuff. I was like, oh, Jesus. I started fucking adding them on just for the sake of adding them on, just see what I was going to end up as. At the end of it, the total price was €40,000. I said to him, listen, should we fucking chance it? Just see, can we apply for that? And that was the weekend, so we called back on. He called me back on Monday, and he said, yeah, absolutely no problem. You've been approved for that. I said, fucking hell, go for it. So put me pen came down a couple of days later just to sign the paperwork to make it all official, and that was it. Settled, sorted. The order was placed. We were waiting for about 3 months. All of my wife's brothers were laughing at the time. I was saying, what the fuck are you doing getting a Mini? But D-Day arrived anyway. We went down to the garage to collect it, and I was like a fucking child with a new toy. I was like, oh my god, your mum was giving us the ins and outs of it, telling us how it all worked and what all the buttons and gadgets and gizmos in it done, and I was delighted with myself. The wife drove it home. I drove the old A to B job, the old banger. I drove that home behind her. When we got home, all the family were there. They were waiting, and when we pulled in, their jaws hit the floor like they couldn't believe it. The brothers weren't laughing anymore. They were fucking amazed at how cool this fucking thing looked. Again, I'll show the picture up on screen. They were just fucking gobsmacked. I took each of them for a spin as well, just down the road a bit, and showed them what the turbo was like when it kicked in, and they couldn't believe it. Mag's younger brother, he was the last one that I took for a test drive, and we went around the block as I had done with the other brothers, and around the block where I live out the country, there's one part of it has a really long straight. It must be I'd say it's about 3/4 of a kilometre long, this straight. And we came out we were just coming out onto the straight more or less, and we came out behind a Nissan Skyline. Now, if you know cars, a Skyline is an absolute beast. It's an animal of a car. You just you wouldn't beat it like for speed. And we pulled up behind it, and I drove up as close as I could. I was practically tailgating it, and I knew, like, I've local knowledge of that area. I knew there was a straight coming up around the next bend. So as soon as I just peeped around the corner, as soon as we turned the corner, I just dropped the gear. I put my foot to the fucking floor, and I fucking shot like I was like a fucking rocket going by this fucking Skyline. I left him in dust, I couldn't fucking believe it. Like, it was unbelievable. Meg's brother was, oh my god, what the fuck is this thing? And he wanted one of them. I was like, who's your daddy? I was saying, like, but. Now, obviously, if your man was on a main motorway or something like that, I would have been left for dust. It's just the Mini was such a light car, and the acceleration is unbelievable from a standing stop and all of that. And on a longer distance, the Skyline would just leave it for dirt. There's no question. But anyway, where was I? That night, I said I'd bring it into my friend to let him see it and show off and brag and boast and all the usual as you do. And we had to go to the country he wanted to pick up something out the country, and so I'd let him drive. And this was around January. Like, you get your cars in January to start. When you buy a new car, you get it in January, so you have one of the first cars in the county at the time. And the roads are very slick and cold and wet and dirty and damp and all the usual crap. And we're going up these country roads, twisting roads. Well, my friend John, he just fucking threw the car around every fucking corner he came to. I was fucking hanging out of the fucking armrest. I was fucking clinging on for dear life. I was afraid of my shit. Imagine having to explain to your wife when you come home that, well, it wasn't my wife at the time, but that your car that you bought that day was rolled off. Oh my god, it was unbelievable. Like, you want to see him, he must have been going around corners like at fucking 60-degree angle corners at about fucking 80 kilometers an hour. I was like a fucking white as a ghost. I couldn't believe it. Thankfully, he didn't fucking crash it. But the car is so good. Like, you have this sports button on it, and it loosens up the steering wheel and turns on traction control. And the car has a really low center of gravity anyway, and has a wide wheelbase. And it just makes it. It's like it handles like a go-kart. It just sticks to the ground. You wouldn't believe the feeling of it. But I was so glad that we didn't write it off. And needless to say, once he picked up the message, I drove the fucking car home and wasn't letting him fucking drive the thing again. Imagine wrecking the fucking car. I haven't got it that day. The next day, I drove to work, and I just wanted to show off again. The office that I was working in was bang in the centre of Enniscorthy town. So I parked right in the centre of town. Everyone was like, look, turning heads everywhere I went. People, I even looked out my office window and I could see people out there taking pictures and looking at the car and all this. I was like, who is the fucking man? So the traffic meters only lasted for 2 hours, so I had to keep coming out and changing and parking in different positions. But I was fucking so proud. It was like my new baby or something. It was unbelievable. I was fucking delighted. Yeah, the wife was the main user of the car. I only had it for that day, like, and at the time, she was working in a factory down in Wexford, and she in this electronics factory, and she had the fucking finest, fanciest car in all the land down there in the car park. You'd go in, there'd be all the A to B jobs, all the bangers. Even her boss had a fucking run-of-the-mill Volvo. Shit, a heap of junk, like, it was crap looking. And Mag said she was like, she felt like a queen down there. Everyone was like, oh my god, how can you get this car and all this, you know? I fucking was loving hearing all this, because I loved the fact of being boasting and bragging about this fucking thing, you know. It was so good, like no one had ever seen one of them before, and it was brilliant. While she had a car, like I was driving the A to B job, the old Nissan, I think it was an Almira, I can't exactly remember now, it was a long time ago. But I had the Mini on the evenings and weekends. I remember one stage I was driving up to Dublin. I had finished in the toy shop at this point in time, got a few months forward, and I was driving up to Dublin for an interview. I was all suited and booted, I had my shades on, it was a really sunny day. I had a sunroof down, the music blaring, cruising all the way up to Dublin, up along the motorway, and all of a sudden, bang! I was like, what the fuck was that? All feathers everywhere inside of the car. I had to fucking put my foot on the brakes and pull in, and I was like, a fucking pigeon fucking hit the sunroof. The way the sunroof rises when it's back, it hit the fucking sunroof, and it kind of, feathers all came in. Now, thankfully, the pigeon didn't fall in, because I'd be panicking myself, but there's fucking feathers everywhere. I was nearly spitting them out my mouth. It was unbelievable. I had to pull into a garage and get a drink and fucking recollect my thoughts, and I was like trying to explain the story to the cashier at the gas station or the petrol station, and it was unbelievable. Told the wife when she got home she couldn't believe it. Another couple of months later, there was the car developed a fault with the lights. I had to bring it down for a service, and it was going to take about a week. So we got this car while it was being serviced. It was a convertible version of the Cooper S, which we had, and I'm going to say it was unbelievable. This was middle of the summer as well. It was perfect timing. You could drop the sunroof, or the whole fucking roof. You know, it's a convertible, so the roof comes back and folds into itself, and it was just so fucking cool. I remember one day I was on another. I had started a job in Dublin at the time, and I was driving up there for some reason in the Mini, and I could see along the motorway, I could see in my rear view mirror that there was a car coming speeding up. It was a Honda Civic, one of these really popular cars in Ireland at the time that all the boy racers had, and he was tearing up the road. So he coming up behind me, kind of tailgating, and then he went to overtake. So as he pulled up alongside me, I started putting my foot down gradually, just to match his speed, and I just kind of gathered his attention, like I kind of waved at him, like, you know, trying to gather his attention. He looked over, and I waved at him again, and he smiled, and I just dropped the gear, put my foot down, and the turbo kicked in, and I was boom, gone like a fucking rocket again. I was left him for dirt. I was deadly feeling, like, you know, these boy racers putting him in their fucking place. I was fucking loving it. Another time I was coming home, and I'd never, my wife's brother, her youngest brother, he had a Honda Civic himself at the time as well. It was a VTEC, it was quite a speedy model, and I'd never seen him on the road while I was in the Mini at the time. And I was coming home, and up in the distance I could see him indicating into the turn, and he was about, I don't know, must have been about 800 metres away from me. No, fucking about 500 metres away from me or whatever, but I seen him in the distance. So I fucking put my foot down to catch up with him, because I wanted to overtake him and show him that my car was a beast compared to what he thought. He had a fast car. So I eventually caught up with him, and we were coming up along the country road into where we were living at the time. We were actually living in the same house at the time, with Mag's mother and father. Sorry, Mag's is my wife's name. And it was a country road, really bad road. Like, it's kind of straight, but at the end of it there is a turn, and I had the fucking traction control turned on the car at the time, and I didn't realise it, but it wouldn't fucking put enough power to the wheels. Like, when I went to overtake, I was like, what the fuck is this? I was dropping gears, and I couldn't overtake him because I had this fucking sports button on, which was, the traction control was just interfering with the power to the wheels. And I was getting up to the end of this fucking road, and there's an awful turn at the end of it, and I did not want to give an inch to him. I wanted to make sure that I fucking overtook him and bet him and showed him who had the better car, the most powerful car at the time. And we were neck and neck, and we must have been fucking neck and neck, edging forward and back and side by side for felt like about 30 seconds. And we were coming up, well, it wasn't 30 seconds, but that's what it sounded like when I'm telling the story, but it was probably about fucking 10 seconds, but we were coming up to the end of this fucking straight bit of road, and there was a bit of a nasty fucking turn at the end, and I would not budge, and he wouldn't fucking budge, and I just kept, we were side by side on a 2-lane road, on a single lane road, with a car could come head on in my direction as well, and I would not budge, and I kept going, and I overtook him on the fucking turn. Can you imagine that? If a car had come around the corner, I was stone dead. They were stone dead. Mag's brother was probably stone dead as well. It was unbelievable. It was, looking back, it was the stupidest fucking thing I ever done in my life. When I got back and pulled in the yard, I was fucking shaking. He was white as a ghost when he got out of his car as well. It was just, it could have been a disaster. In hindsight, I'd never in a million years do anything like that again. Like, cut a long story short there, a couple of years ago I rode off a car that we had as well, coming home from work one night, hit ice, and the car spun out of control and it flipped and rolled, and it completely was wrote off. Now luckily it landed on its 4 wheels and I escaped unharmed. Well, I had cracked ribs, but I landed on the 4 wheels up in a ditch and I was lucky to get out of it alive, but the car was wrote off. In hindsight now, even today when I'm driving my Jeep or whatever, I get a gut-wrenching feeling in my stomach when I can feel, the gravity taking over in the car, like when you're going around the turn. I just go so slow now, it's unbelievable. I'd never be a boy racer like that again. That's great. It's great having hindsight like that. We had the car about 1.5 years at this point, and we got the unexpected news that we were going to have a baby on the way. We weren't even married at this point, so we were unbelievable. We couldn't believe the shock of it. So we had to get serious. There was no way we were going to have a Mini Cooper while with a child on the way, because it's a 3-door car, and trying to get a child in and out of the back would be just a nightmare. So we had to make the ultimate decision, and we had to fucking trade the Mini in. I was devastated. I couldn't believe it. We had to change it to a more family-oriented car, like a Toyota Venza as it was. And we had to go and look for a house and all that of our own, because we were living under Meg's mother and father's roof at the time as well. It was probably one of the worst times of my life, having to get rid of it. But anyway, all good things must come to an end, as you know. The moral of the story: if you're a young guy and you're lucky, or a girl, and you're lucky enough that you can afford to buy a new car like that, new sports car even, do it. You'll be fucking delighted. It'll be great. But the thing I want to get across to you is, do not be as foolish as I was. I took so many chances with that car, putting my foot to the floor. Didn't look after the engine. I just fucking tore it up. I was a complete idiot in the fucking car. If you're lucky enough to afford a sports car like that, look after it to the last. Put pride and effort and attention into it, and look after it as much as you can. And don't make any foolish decisions. Don't play Russian roulette with your life and the life of others when you have a fancy sports car like that, when you have no driving experience. But anyway, that's the story. I'd love to hear your comments and feedback as usual, and I shall talk to you in the next video. All the best. Bye bye.